Hi there, this is Jason Medor, and in today's video I wanted to discuss a little bit about Edison Diamond Discs, what they are, how to store them and play them, and a few rare variants of them that you want to be on the lookout for if you ever come across them. So to begin with, I'm doing this video at the request of a YouTube user who inherited a bunch of them but doesn't know what to do with them, how to play them, etc. And he noticed that I had a bunch of them on my YouTube channel. So he wanted to know more about them, and I said, okay, well, since I have today off anyway, and it's probably about 50 below outside, I figured today would be a good day to do that. So to start with, so actually I should back up here. Edison Diamond Discs were basically the bastard child of the cylinder record and the disc record. And what I mean by that is because when Edison originally started out making cylinder records, but cylinder records were basically were totally in decline after about 1908, 1909, because that was when disc records began being double-sided. And of course, you know, if you can get a double-sided record that has two great songs on it for $1 versus a cylinder record for 50 cents with one song on it, and you know, the disc record also happens to have large, you know, big star names on it, of course you're going to go to the disc record. So so once Edison realized basically he needed to come up with a disc record, he was limited by patents that were already put in place by Victor and Columbia and a few other you know, disc record companies of the time. So he couldn't make a standard shellac 78 RPM record, because if he did, he would get sued. So he needed to create a different type of disc record, and in Edison's mind, quality was the biggest thing, so and of the most importance. So that would actually later kind of be his downfall. I'll go into that more in a minute. But so he started out creating a disc that, like this one here. This is, I think, from 1913, so it's one of the earliest issues. As you can see, it's 1/4 inch thick. It weighs about half a pound, and the label is literally stamped into the record. And this record is 10 inches in diameter. 99.9% of the diamond discs that you'll find are 10 inches in diameter. So because of the thickness, Edison used a diamond stylus instead of Pathé's sapphire stylus. These discs are vertical cut, and they're, I think, 150 grooves to the inch, something like that. So that allows them to, when they're rotating at 80 RPM, which is what they were recorded at, not 78, but 80 RPM, it allows for up to 5 minutes of playing time per side. And because it's vertical as well, you also get a little bit better sound. Diamond discs tend to sound a little bit drier than lateral cut 78s do, but they overall have better fidelity than shellac 78s do. So so when Edison initially released these, they were met with a lot of mixed reviews. I mean, because obviously people enjoyed the better sound and everything, but these discs retailed for $1, and Edison was just getting started, so he didn't have the ability to contract big stars to record for him. So so initially they were very slow in sales to begin with. It wasn't until about World War I that the sales actually took off for Edison, and most of the diamond discs that you'll find tend to be from that period. So and I think 1921, I think it was, Edison switched to a paper label. This record is from 1926, but this is what the paper labels look like. There is one variant of this that has mostly black, along with one outer ring here on the label that isn't the checkered border. I've only seen a handful of those in my entire collecting life, though, because that label is only made for a few months. So this is the type of the label that you're much more likely to find. So to begin with, how you play these things is these will not play on a standard 78 RPM turntable. So if you have like an old console or you know, Magnavox console or something, you won't be able to play these on here. What you'll have to do is, well, for instance, what I use is I have a Caliphone transcription player with a cartridge that that's a stereo cartridge, but when I record these, to get them digitally transferred, I reverse the leads on them to put them in mono. And then that way they can track the vertical undulations of the groove without getting all that surface noise that you'll find. Because if you don't have a functioning Edison disc phonograph, this is really your only option to get these playable. So I use that. You can use a standard 78 RPM stylus to play it. The size of the groove actually is still fine to play with a 3mm stylus. The only thing that you'll want to watch out for as well is tracking force, because these can actually track at a very light pressure. I think the caliphone I use to track these on, I set to track around 4 or 5 grams. So you don't actually need all that weight like you do with a shellac 78 as well. If you do, you can actually end up wearing these out. And for the love of God, do not play these with a steel needle, because if you play these with a steel needle, it slices through the lacquered layer of these. These were made out of condensite and varnish on the top, so if you play it with a steel needle, it will actually dig out that varnish and you'll get to the wood powder core inside. And that is not good, because then you'll end up actually destroying the groove. And I can't tell you how many diamond discs I found that are either very rare or very valuable discs that have been just totally destroyed by that. So do not play these with a steel needle at all. Again, you also need to take into consideration, if you have a lot of these, that these will fit into a standard 78 RPM sleeve, but they won't fit into those binders that a lot of 78 RPM collectors use, like the ones that are leather bound and they look like a spiral notebook, but they have sleeves inside. These are too thick for that. So what you'll need to, what I do for my most valuable diamond discs is I go to Kurt Knock's website, and he has really good sleeves that are made out of heavy duty, I think either very thick paper or cardboard, one of the two, and I use those to store diamond discs because those are strong enough to hold the weight of these, and they're also the right size for it. And those aren't too expensive. I think they're like 50 cents a sleeve or something like that. So if you have a lot of them, it's definitely worth your while to keep them in sleeves and and stored and everything. Let's see. That brings me to my second to last point, which is cleaning these. As you can imagine, because of their age, these can amass fingerprints and animal urine and dirt and all that other crap in the grooves. And if you try to play the record in a dirty state, you'll end up wearing out your stylus, and you'll dig the debris further into the record groove. And once you do that, it becomes almost impossible to get it out. So how you clean these, though, is very different than a regular shellac 78, because a regular shellac 78 you can either use cleaning fluid or you can just run it under tap water with some soap and a light towel. These you can't do that, because if you run water on these or store these in a moist environment, what's going to end up happening is that water seeps into the edge of the disc, and the record literally ends up peeling from the edge, and the record swells, and then you can't play it. So again, you need to keep these away from moisture. If you do that, though, they'll be good to go. So how you clean these is you can get a regular cotton pad and then get 99% isopropyl alcohol from like a drugstore or Walgreens or CVS, something like that. Pour about a quarter size amount on the cotton pad, and then just rub in a concentric circle going with the grooves, and then that will take most of the debris out. You may need to repeat that 2 or 3 times to get all the dirt out. But what's nice about that is the alcohol also kills any disgusting bacteria or things like that, and it dries instantly. So once you're done cleaning it, you can just pop it on the record player and listen to it. You don't need to have a 24-hour drying time like you do with shellac 78s. So that's pretty nice. Now, now these were only made for 17 years. You won't find a diamond disc that was made after 1929 because Edison stopped production of all his records in 1929. So what ended up happening with these diamond discs is that, like I said, after about 1920, the sales took off of them. But after 1925, it was basically the death knell for Edison, because in 1925, electrical recording came along, which meant prior to this, performers would have to speak, sing, or play an instrument into a large recording horn that used the energy from the sound vibrations to create a record groove on a wax master that could be used to press records. So as you can imagine, the overall fidelity of that was not that great. So once microphones started being recorded, started to be used to be recorded for records in 1925, fidelity greatly improved, and Victor and Columbia saw how great that was, and they hopped on that, and they immediately started issuing electrically recorded records. Edison didn't do that, because Edison basically was about 80 years old at this point, and he said, well, I was the one who invented the phonograph. I'm the one who knows how to get the best sound recordings, and this electrical recording is nothing more than a fad, and I'm not going to have any part of it. So it wasn't until 1927 that he finally started using electrical recording, and that was actually mostly at the insistence of his sons, who said we're going to go bankrupt anyway, we might as well go out with electrical recording. So if you find an electrically recorded diamond disc, you'll want to hang on to it, because they're not rare, but they are collectible. So if you find one in good shape, I highly recommend buying it if the price is right. And Edison also did two other variants of diamond discs that you'll want to be on the lookout for. The first one is our dealer sample diamond discs. These were almost always 12 inches in diameter, and they were sent to Edison dealers to showcase upcoming records that would be released in like the next month or so. And they would just feature like 1-minute snippets of new records that were released on it. So they will play with a standard Edison reproducer. You don't need to worry about playback so much, but if you find one, then you'll want to get it, and you want to hang on to it, because those are very, very collectible. They're hard to find, and they go for a lot of money, and because collectors like me love to find them. So if you do find one in playable shape, get it. I have only seen one of them in my entire life, and unfortunately, it had a lamination crack from the edge to the center of the disc, which made it totally unplayable. But if it didn't have that lamination crack, I would have bought it. And I saw it on eBay, and even with that lamination crack, it went for like $200. So it's in your while to get it. The other variant of diamond discs that you'll find is people like to credit Columbia with coming up with the 33 1/3 LP record, but actually Edison was the one who had the idea. And in, I think, 1926, 1927, that period, he created a series of long-playing diamond disc records. And what those were, if you find one, they can be either 10 or 12 inches in diameter, and on the label they'll say Edison long play, so you know what it is. But they can play for either 12 or 20 minutes per side at 80 RPM, and they're cut with, I think, 450 grooves to the inch. So if you find one, modern playback of them can be a little difficult, because they're actually thinner than what a modern LP stylus can fit. So if you find one, contact me, and I can give you some pointers on how to play them back, particularly if you don't have an Edison long play reproducer. So if you do find an Edison long play, any of the 8 or 9 that were issued by the Edison company, you'll want to hang on to them, because again, those are very collectible and they go for a lot of money. And those are particularly noteworthy as well, because, as I said, you can only play them with an Edison long play reproducer, and you'll need an Edison machine that has the right threading to allow the feed screw mechanism to accurately track the record. You can't play them on a standard Edison phonograph or Edison diamond disc phonograph. So like I said, if you find one of those, just let me know. I'll give you some pointers on that. Otherwise, I think I've covered everything with the diamond discs that I need to. I mean, the only other comment that I would like to add is some people accuse the Edison company of only recording like boring stuff, and honestly, that's not true. I found a lot of really great, interesting diamond discs that are just musical gems. And if you don't believe me, you can check out my YouTube channel under the diamond disc playlist that I created. I've got some great stuff ranging everything from classical to Irish jigs to Fred Van Apps and foxtrots, everything like that. The only thing is that because the Edison diamond discs were intended to be for wealthy clients, I agree that there's not as much jazz and country recordings, like the stuff that modern collectors actively seek out. There's not as much to find on Edison with it, because Edison never really recorded a lot of that stuff to begin with, but what he did record was very good. So I highly recommend that if you are interested in the more antique side of record collecting, like with 78s and cylinders and stuff, you give Edison diamond discs a try, because they're relatively common. They don't cost a lot of money usually, and they're great for the record collector just getting started. If not for the fact that just because they were only made for 17 years and they're unusual types of records. So I hope this video helps the beginning collector. And if you like this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Other than that, I will see you later. Thanks for watching.